Are women discriminated in Europe? Journalists from Greek, French and Croatian e-twinning team explore the position of women in their countries. Here are their stories. In France, women were granted right to vote in 1944, in Croatia in 1945 and in Greece in 1952. Four prominent ladies, Marija Jurić-Zaborka in Croatia, Kalihore Paren in Greece, and Olympe de Gouges and Simone de Beauvoir in France played a key role in ensuring that right.
One of the most important members of the women's movement who was herself a victim of discrimination in social and business environment is our famous writer and journalist Marija Jurić-Zaborka. She was born on March 2nd, 1873 in aristocratic manor Negovec near Vrbovec. Despite being a gifted child, her parents didn't allow her to get an education but decided she should marry young. Her marriage, in which she suffered a nervous breakdown, fell apart 3 years later and she escaped from her husband to Zagreb, where she painstakingly began her career in journalism, the unusual for women. Life is from the novel, one might say.
Everywhere I went, I was treated with distrust and disdain. Being a woman in politics in the 19th century was considered like being a woman in a brothel. In the newspaper office I worked for, everyone looked at me in amazement, and I only wanted to spread feminism and help women to participate in public life. My aspiration was always the emancipation of women. In every national struggle, the Croatian women have been a strong support to men. However, when the right to vote was given to every adult male, the female part of the population was not included, not even mentioned, though the need for women cooperating in the state and national development has been proven many times. When the least democratic country under the sun, Hungary, gives women the right to vote, Croatian electoral reform leaves out the democratic principle of equality of people. When the whole world has democratized our electoral reform divides the male part of the population from the female part and leaves the boundaries between them, similar to the ancient boundaries, which existed in the past when privileged nobles had all the rights and the peasants had only duties. The only difference is that then literate lord possessed the privileges over illiterate servants, while today an illiterate man gets the privilege over literate women.
Good morning and welcome in our special edition, which is talking about famous women in Europe. That's why, for this occasion, we have a famous guest with us. This is probably the first time you see her on TV. She's a writer of a lot of books, including The Second Sex. It's through her essay that she has played an historic role in transforming ideas of our time. And she identified the second role of woman in society. That's why I want a round of applause for Simone de Beauvoir.
Hello, thank you.
So we are going to talk about the second sex. There is a really important sentence in your book, which is, "One is not born a woman, one becomes one." Could you explain?
Yes, this formula is the base of all my theories, that being a woman is not a natural fact. It's a result of a certain history. There is no biological, psychological destiny. It's the product of an history, a culture, an education.
How can you explain the fact that we become a woman?
There are certainly many reasons to explain. There is the way that women are shaped in their childhood, and there is no inequality between boys and girls during the childhood.
Can you Give us an example.
Okay, when boys get older and start making atoms, for example, to be independent, insolent, to play tricks, they are encouraged and their family find them funny. But a woman, however, will be put in her place.
In other words, it's women, mothers, who create the discrimination.
When a woman is not like them, they think it's a monster, and their concern is their daughter to be feminine, pretty. So yes, it's women, but of course under pressure from the men. Because as a whole, have taught women as a whole to act in the way passive, self-effacing, submissive.
Isn't it a really economic situation? Since until very recently, the best thing for a girl was to be pretty, to be desirable to men, in order to ensure financial support for marriage and other ways.
Certainly it's economic, but it comes from what I said earlier. Why is she a woman economically dependent? Because men have all the jobs, and especially the interesting one.
Moreover, you found an association, which is the MLF. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Oh yes, it's a women's rights league who try to fight against all the forms of sexism. We would like the law that makes racial discrimination illegal do the same for sex discrimination.
Okay. So right now this emission is now over. So thanks Simon to have been with us. We really enjoyed doing this emission with you, and we hope that your ideas are going to be understood and heard by the government and by the population, and we hope that it's going to change. So thanks. Goodbye.
Ονομάζομαι Καλλιρόη Παρέν Σιγανού και γεννήθηκα στο Ρέθυμνο το 1861. Σύζυγός μου είναι ο Ιωάννης Παρέν, ιδρυτής του Αθηναϊκού Πρακτορείου Ειδήσεων. Μετά τη βασική παιδεία που έλαβα, φοιτήσα στη Γαλλική Σχολή των Καλογραιών και έγινα δασκάλα. Στη συνέχεια, με τη βοήθεια του άντρα μου, έγινα η πρώτη Ελληνίδα δημοσιογράφος, εκδότρια και διευθύντρια της Εφημερίδας των Κυριών το 1887. Ένα σημαντικό πρόβλημα της εποχής μου ήταν η υποβαθμισμένη θέση της γυναίκας. Μετά από πολλές προσπάθειές μου για την κατοχήρωση του δικαιώματος του εκλέγει και εκλέγεστε για τις γυναίκες, με άμεσες πιέσεις και μέσα από την εφημερίδα μου, το αποτέλεσμα ήταν η κυβέρνηση να με εξορίσει. Κατόρθωσα όμως πριν από αυτό να εκπροσωπήσω την Ελλάδα σε διάφορα συνέδρια στο εξωτερικό. Μετά από αυτούς τους σκόπους και αγώνες μου, είμαι πλέον ευτυχής και ήσυχη, μπορώ να αναπαυθώ, εφόσον αισθάνομαι ότι αφήνω πίσω μου μια ανθυρά βλάστη της φοράς, την οποία εμείς, αιωλοί και πρωτοπόροι, στήραμε, στην τότε άγωνο και πετρώδη γη. Και είμαι βεβαία ότι από εσάς, καλές μου συνεργάτες, θα δημιουργηθεί η τέλεια γυναίκα της αύριο. Γι' αυτό σας παροτρύνω να συνεχίσετε το έργο μου και να αγωνιστείτε για μια ανεξάρτητη και ελεύθερη γυναίκα.
When it comes to discrimination in sport, we have a story about an athlete who, due to discrimination, gave up the sport that she was successfully engaged in. Let's hear her story.
Mrs. Until recently you successfully practiced skating and even won some awards. Why did you cancel it?
Well, I wouldn't say I just canceled it. I was forced to leave. I was with my friend in the gay pride. We were in the column and we were advocating their rights from LGBT people. And those pictures, and I was cynical on them, they show up in the newspapers, and the gossip spread all around the club, and the members saw it, and of course that came to the leaders of the club, and they suggested me that I should leave the club, and the members said that they would expel me because of that. So I left on my own.
With what problems women are faced today at the job interview? We will see in the next video clip.
Περάστε.
Καλημέρα σας.
Καλημέρα.
Ήρθα για την προγραμματισμένη μας συνέντευξη για τη θέση εργασίας που προσφέρετε.
Ας ξεκινήσουμε με τα βασικά. Διάβασα το βιογραφικό σας και μου φάνηκε αρκετά ενδιαφέρον.
Χαίρομαι που το ακούω αυτό.
Πιστεύω πως η συνεργασία μας θα έχει να προσφέρει πολλά και στην εφημερίδα μας, αλλά και εσάς την ίδια. Γι' αυτό θα ήθελα να μάθω περισσότερα για την προσωπικότητά σας.
Λοιπόν, στις προηγούμενες συνεργασίες μου με άλλες εφημερίδες, μου δόθηκε η ευκαιρία να γράψω σε διαφορετικές στήλες, διαπραγματευόμενοι πολλά και διαφορετικά θέματα. Ασχολούμαι χρόνια με τον αθλητισμό, ιδιαίτερα με τον στίβο, ακόμη και με τον αθλητισμό.
Χαίρομαι που το ακούω αυτό. Είναι καλό να είστε τέτοιες στις μέρες μας. Ξέρετε, πολλές γυναίκες ασχολούνται με διαφορετικά πράγματα.
Τι εννοείτε?
Μια από τις επιδιώξεις κάθε γυναίκας είναι να κάνει οικογένεια. Διακρίνω μια αναστάτωση.
Όχι, καθόλου.
Δεν καταλαβαίνω το λόγο πάνω στο δοθήκατε. Μήπως θέλετε να συζητήσουμε κάτι?
Η αλήθεια είναι ότι δίστασα πολύ να έρθω, παρόλο που θέλω πολύ αυτή τη δουλειά.
Θα ήθελα να γίνετε λίγο πιο συγκεκριμένοι.
Να ανακάλυψω ότι είμαι έγκυος.
Κοιτάξτε, εδώ αλλάζουν τα πράγματα.
Τι πάει να πει αλλάζουν τα πράγματα? Τι σχέση έχει αυτό? Όλοι οι εργοδότες την ίδια αντίδραση έχετε και ειλικρινά δεν το καταλαβαίνω καθόλου αυτό.
Η διαδικασία κάπως απαιτεί εργασιακή άδεια. Και μετά τη γέννα θα χρειαστεί να ρίξετε για αρκετό καιρό.
Μα αυτό έγκυται στις υποχρεώσεις του κράτους.
Το ξέρω αυτό, δεν σκηνείς. Αλλά η εφημερίδα μας στην κατάσταση που είστε δεν επιτρέπει κάτι τέτοιο.
Αυτή τη δικαιολογία την έχω ακούσει πολλές φορές. Και αυτό το χρησιμοποιείτε ως πρόφαση, γιατί κατά βάθος δεν μπορείτε να δεχτείτε ότι μια γυναίκα μπορεί να κάνει εξίσου καλά τη δουλειά της όπως και ένας άντρας.
Δεν είπα ούτε νόμιζα κάτι τέτοιο. Νομίζω πως παρεξηγήσατε τα λόγια μου.
Ξέρω πολύ καλά τι καταλαβαίνω. Ευχαριστώ πολύ για τον χρόνο σας. Γεια σας.
Why have you decided to reply to our ad?
I applied because I always wanted to be a part of your company, and from an early age I was a big fan of your brand, and the job in this company is the fulfillment of all my dreams and life expectations.
What salary do you expect?
Salary is not important to me. I'm here for the love of work, and the material things do not mean much to me.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I plan to finish my master's degree, doctorate, learn Chinese, Turkish and Russian, and all my free time I will devote to humanitarian work.
What is your sexual orientation?
Straight.
Well, I assume that you plan to get married and have children. Do you plan to get pregnant in the next 3 years?
Probably, besides finishing a master's degree, doctors, and learning Chinese, Turkish and Russian, I will have time for a love life.
Let us hear some opinions from our experts about women's rights. Are women equal to men? What can be changed in the European Union when it comes to women's rights?
Συγκεντρωθήκαμε σήμερα εδώ, σε αυτό το συνεδριακό χώρο, με αφορμή το θέμα που ταλανίζει την κοινωνία, σχετικά με την αντιμετώπιση του γυναικείου φύλου από το ευρύ κοινωνικό περιβάλλον. Αποτελεί ένα θέμα που έχει πάρει μεγάλες διαστάσεις τα τελευταία χρόνια, καθώς με την είσοδο της γυναίκας στον εργασιακό τομέα αυξήθηκαν οι ρατσιστικές συμπεριφορές απέναντί της. Για την καλύτερη διευθέτηση του θέματος, 4 ειδικοί, από τη δικιά του σκοπιά ο καθένας, θα μας αναλύσουν τους τρόπους αντιμετώπισης του. Το λόγο θα πάρει ο δημοσιογράφος Δημοσθένης Πολίτης. Κύριε Πολίτη, ο λόγος σε εσάς. Πώς πιστεύετε ότι θα μπορούσε να αντιμετωπιστεί το θέμα?
Πιστεύω ότι θα πρέπει να γίνουν κάποιες βελτιώσεις όσον αφορά τη στερεοτυπική και υποτιμητική εικόνα της γυναίκας από τα μέσα μαζικής ενημέρωσης. Πρώτα απ' όλα, τα μέσα μαζικής ενημέρωσης θα πρέπει να προβάλλουν μια ισότιμη εικόνα της γυναίκας σε σχέση με τον άντρα και όχι να την αντιμετωπίζουν ως σκεύος ειδονής, προωθώντας ορθά πρότυπα συμπεριφοράς και περιορίζοντας τις ρατσιστικές αντιλήψεις απέναντί της.
From the research which has taken part in several European countries, it can be inferred that in Croatia, a young woman is pretty much discriminated. Statistics show that in the world of science there are still exclusive male clubs, and the young female scientists have a lot more to prove than their male counterparts. Not to mention that if employed, they are less paid for the same job. I think that the introduction of gender quotas in employment could be a way to get rid of discrimination against women in employment.
We are now going to focus on one of the most important struggles nowadays for women, equality at work. In France, from 1804 until 1965, a woman couldn't work without the permission of her husband. Her salary was taken and managed by her husband until 1907 and her other properties too until 1965. From 1965 until nowadays, important changes occurred. A woman can manage her properties, open an account, and work without the permission of her husband. In 1972, appeared the recognition of the principle equal pay for equal work. Despite all this progress, it still inequalities because in 2013 the average woman's salary was 19% lower than that of a man. Among the different debates which animate France, there is one of them which creates a lot of different point of views and a lot of street protests. It is the birth control. A law passed in 1920 made contraception and abortion criminal offenses. In 1942, the abortion was considered as a crime against the state, liable to death. The New Earth Law authorizing contraception was passed in 1967. In 1975, Simon Veil's law legalizing abortion was passed after a long struggle.
France has one of the most generous childcare systems in the world. Parents can send their children to nurseries from the age of 3 months until they can go to preschool from 2 to 5 years old. Parents can also both take up 3 years of unpaid parental leave to take care of their children until they can go to preschool. Women wearing trousers is a proof of the inequalities that exist between men and women and that still remains nowadays. Indeed, in France, women wearing trousers are still technically breaking the law. This law from the 19th century stipulates that any woman wishing to dress as a man must obtain a permission from the local prefecture, and it has never been repealed. And when back in 2003 someone finally suggested to repeal it, they were told that it was not worth the bother.
Συνεχίζουμε με τη δικαστή κυρία Ιωάννα Μπέλ.
Πρώτα απ' όλα, θεωρώ πως η γυναίκα θα πρέπει να προστατεύεται νομικά. Τα δικαιώματά της θα πρέπει να είναι σεβαστά και οι παραβατικές συμπεριφορές να τιμωρούνται. Θα ήταν ένα αποτελεσματικό βήμα έτσι ώστε να περιοριστεί η εκμετάλλευση των γυναικών.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ κυρία Μπέλ. Το λόγο θα πάρει η ψυχολόγος Ανθείο Ακιμίδου. Ποιους τρόπους προτείνετε εσείς?
Εγώ πιστεύω κατά τη γνώμη μου ότι και οι άνδρες θα πρέπει να αντιληφθούν ότι οι γυναίκες χρειάζονται τη στήριξή τους. Δεν είμαστε ίδιοι, αλλά είμαστε ίσοι. Επίσης, για την αντιμετώπιση του προβλήματος, θα πρέπει και οι ίδιες οι γυναίκες να αναζητήσουν τη βοήθεια. Ειδικά ο κλάδος μας είναι εδώ για να τους προσφέρει την καλύτερη ψυχολογική υποστήριξη.
Croatia is still a very patriarchal society where women are often discriminated. 36% of Croatian men think that the woman's place is at home and that her most important role is caring for home and family. The first and main task in the 21st century is Croatia is still enlightenment, in which citizenship education can play a major role. Only by educating the youth in the spirit of democracy and tolerance, we will have the opportunity to change something.
Τέλος, απευθυνόμαστε σε εσάς, κυρία Αντιγόνια Γκόμπου. Ποιοι τρόποι υπάρχουν κατά τη γνώμη σας?
Ως απλός πολίτης πιστεύω πως η γυναίκα πρέπει να αντιμετωπίζεται ως ενεργό μέλος από την κοινωνία, να μην την αντιμετωπίζουν ως έρμεο ή ως αντικείμενο, αλλά να δίνουν βάση στα λεγόμενά της και να την εντάσσουν στον κοινωνικό και πολιτικό χώρο.
Women are paid for about 10% less than men for the same job in Croatia. They are also discriminated more often when they search for a job. An employer will never ask man if he plans to get married and start a family. Discrimination by gender and age is a common practice that is almost never punished. Stricter penalties for discriminatory questions at job interviews and higher penalties for employers who prefer men with lower qualifications against women with higher ones could change such a state.
In 2006, a law has been voted about the equality at work between men and women because of the fact that women's salaries are lower than men's salaries for the exact same job, which is considered as a big injustice by the biggest part of the French population. Then, in 2013, another law that stipulates that the healthcare insurance fund has to repay entirely the abortion costs has been voted. And then a few other laws has been voted through the years. In 2008, in 2011, in 2013 and in 2014 about the equality of the men and the women at work in the government and in the administration councils. All these laws that has been voted through the years are there to fight the inequalities between men and women in the private, in the public and in the professional spheres. In France, we're still fighting against the inequalities that exist between men and women, for example with laws that are voted almost each year, even though the inequalities still exist. They are just a bit less than before.
Dear viewers, you've heard what our distinguished experts say about the equality of women in Europe. What do you think? Are women discriminated in the European Union or not?